Welcome back to the Deal Room. Today's guest brings real world real estate insight. David Holm. He grew up around property, sharpened his people skills in car sales, leveled up into media sales, and now he's one of the sharpest voices in private and hard money consulting. We're diving into how he built his path, how private money really works, and what investors need to know to grow in today's market. David, great to have you in the room.
Thank you for the introduction. Great to be here. Love the story and really help out the newer investors and everyone alike.
We'll start off with how you got started, David. I know you have a inspiring story. How did you become car salesman and then get to real estate? I mean, the hard money lender that you are right now.
So the story goes back to as a kid. My father's been in real estate for over 36 years. He's a residential real estate broker in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, which is just above Hollywood, about 20 minutes north. And so I've been around it since I was a kid. And most kids, when they're growing up, they want to be a fireman. They want to be a spaceman, whatever it is. I wanted to own a casino at 12 years old. So my story starts actually kind of there. I've always wanted to own my own business and get into it. And I actually went to college and UNLV in Vegas for 1 year. Although on the first day of school, the professor said, I went for hotel management because I wanted to own the casino. And the professor told me you work 60 hours a week and make $48,000 a year. And I said, yep, nope, I'm good. And I checked out for the rest of the year. And so we fast forward a little bit. I never finished. I just did 1 year. And I asked my dad a couple years later, hey, I want to start doing real estate with you. He said, go sell cars for a couple years and then come back to me. And I did. So in 2019, I started selling cars. And then the pandemic, of course, happened. I made a bunch of money during crypto and I just hated it, wasn't into it. It's a lot of a grind. And the people I had saw there, they had been doing it for 30, 40 years. They were stuck into it, into a cycle. They never got out. They stayed in that same thing. So I got out and I actually joined up with a friend of mine who owns a company called Trendy, TRNDY. His name is Logan Simmons, and he's the CEO of that company, or his partner, his friend started it, and they actually sell media packages. So I helped them start that, and we sold basically, it was like with a celebrity, you got a commercial, and just selling that package, they were like $30,000 each to like nutritional companies. I did that for a little while, and then I went down into a place actually called Mike Barron, and he is a sales trainer, and it's in that world of high ticket sales. It's actually how I got my business. I started being an entrepreneur, and I chose a package with him where they helped you start your own firm. And I started a firm called Horns Closer Agency. Did that for about a year, and through that I learned to run a business, how to have employees and contractors and the ins and outs of the basics of it. And then eventually, while doing that, my business helped close other people's high ticket sales. And unfortunately, the business did not go well, but we met up with a gentleman named Anthony, and he had this idea of this company called Next Deal, where he was going to help. I still don't fully remember exactly what it was, but he basically wanted to have a whole private and hard money platform and this and that when I first started it, and he just expected me and my team to kind of build it all for him with almost no help. Through doing that, I learned about private money and I learned about how hard money works. So I eventually started my own shop in the summer of 2024. We originally started with wholesaling and then we just pivoted to private money because wholesaling was not, my dad wasn't a fan of it and I wanted to do something more with where he could join up. So we switched to private and hard money consulting. And that's basically the journey of how I got here. And now we close people's deals. We are consultants and not brokers, which we'll touch over a little bit later.
That's a great segue to my next question that I have. Something that you mentioned, your firm versus broker model, and the difference between your firm, the way that safeguards the client's credit. Do you want to touch base on that
Yeah.
and explain what the difference and how you run your business?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the brokers brokers get a bad rap because there's a lot of them, and what we call them in the industry is called a joker broker. So he's someone that just will blast your deal out to 30 people, and all of a sudden it's just being shopped everywhere. Maybe this person's running your credit. That doesn't happen as much as car sales. Through my experience, someone goes in to buy a car, maybe they go in with a 700 credit score, they come out with a 630. they've been, ran through. Now, it doesn't happen as much in private money because they actually get the terms and accept it. But a lot of times, a broker is just shoving it to 30 people and saying, "Hey, I hope this works," and because they're very inexperienced as a broker, or they're desperate, or they don't know. And especially over the last few years, we've been in a downturn of the economy. We're still recovering from the COVID. So we are hoping for the new Fed chair that just got in to lower the rates, and we can actually have more fun in the industry and have more competition. So the big difference between a broker and a consultant is that we actually care a little bit more. We structure the deal, work with the client. It's more about the relationship than it is just a deal, where a lot of brokers, and there are good brokers, don't get me wrong. A broker is way more helpful than just going right to a lender, because a good broker or a consultant will help you find your fix and flip and DSCR your loan out. If you don't know what a DSCR is, it's a debt service coverage ratio loan, meaning that the property's income pays for the loan, so they don't need your personal income. That's the advantage of that loan. But where a good consultant or a good broker, they will get you the fix and flip, and then if you want to keep the property, we'll get you into a DSCR loan or any kind of other loan. Where if you go to lender, they don't really know, it's just a deal for them. They're not actually helping you. A lot of people shy away. They say no brokers and this and that. And those are very inexperienced people, because the big dogs, they use a consultant or a broker to get their deals done because it's faster and they don't have to worry about it as much. They know they're being taken care of when they find a good person to help them out. The real difference between a consultant and a broker, just someone that structures it a little bit more and goes the extra mile.
Perfect. Do you want to talk about some of the grant funded initiatives that you are working on currently and how you might be able to use that money in the future?
Yeah, so we're getting a couple grants that are digital infrastructure and workforce grants. And basically, we're going to be training 15 people at each, or, well, we have two different companies and two different offices. They all fall under one parent. They're all Wyoming LLCs. And if I can give anyone advice, if you are starting a company, whether that's for fix and flips, if you're a new investor, I would definitely get a Wyoming-based LLC. It does have the most protection and security. With the laws and your name isn't published, definitely that's the best way. So all our companies are based in Wyoming, and then we have a branch in Pennsylvania, and we'll have another branch in California. The branch in Pennsylvania, the DBA, is Prime Haven Mentorship and Consulting Group, and then the one in California is just Prime Haven Capital. And basically, at each office, we're going to be setting up a training program that trains 15 individuals to become loan officers. And eventually, we're going to expand that program with additional grants to actually train people to be doing fix and flips. There's people don't know that there's millions and millions and millions of dollars at their fingertips through grant initiatives. It's easier than you think to get. It's just you have to write a good program when you're doing it. And AI really helps. A lot of our firm is going to be completely based on AI agents to find us leads, to run our board, and helping the training of the loan officers, because their programs, and we're even going to get our program accredited through a college as well. So there's a lot of that money. We're also going to have our own server and just a lot of stuff that we're going to get from these grants. There are millions and millions and millions of dollars that anyone can grab. So our firm does offer that through a third party company that we are partnered with for writing grants. So there's a lot out there for people.
That's really good information, David. That's something public have no clue about. They don't have what these grants are and what these states offer with the grant. What plans do you have? You said you're hiring new brokers and expanding. What, any business ventures?
Right now, we mainly focus on private and hard money loans, whether that's fix and flips, where we can do 90% upfront and 10% down. We'll go into that in a little bit as well. And DSCR, ground up construction, just your basic private hard money loans. We will be adding conventional loans, SBA. We do some business funding currently as well. We are offering grant writing through our partnership with a lady named Dr. Michelle. And we also have a partnership with a payment processor that is less expensive to use because it goes right at the interchange level, way less expensive than going through, like, a lot of people. they don't understand when they're signing a contract through a broker for payment processing, they're actually getting charged an extra 1 to 3% or more on top because that broker is making a fee. When we give it to you through our company, we get paid directly through the company. So there's no extra fee on top. Since it's at interchange, it's a lot less expensive than any of these online ones. But the other thing we'll be doing, and I actually just opened the LLC yesterday, we are opening a studio. It's called Prime Haven Studios. This is the first time anyone's hearing about it. And we'll be launching our ads and everything for all my companies through it. We'll be launching our own podcast, and we'll also be launching a full-fledged studio through that. We'll be doing full-fledged movies by next year. And this year is all just about getting the ads and distribution networks and podcasts and everything set up through our grant initiatives. We are creating a foundation, a charity called Prime Haven Foundation. It is for veterans. It does three things. It also includes first responders as well. But mainly a lot of the veterans that want to become entrepreneurs or even first responders. If they want to create a business or a charity, we're going to help them do that. We're also going to, a lot of the people come out of the military with skills such as helicopter pilot or mechanic, and they don't have the civilian licensing or the skill. They have the skills, but they don't have the licensing to get in the civilian world. We're also going to get them a job, whether that's with a billionaire or at Boeing or a smaller little aircraft company, wherever or whatever skill that they have. And then if they want to go to trade school, we're also going to help them with that.
That's amazing.
And then first responders, I haven't figured out exactly how we're going to expand it to them, but we are going to be offering housing initiatives and as well as PTSD, health, and food help as well, getting the nutrition help. So we have a lot going on inside of this, much more to come inside this ecosystem that I'm building. But as of right now, that is what we are have.
Great stuff, David. That's so inspiring to hear all that you are giving back to the community and helping the veterans and the first responders. It's really good. There are a lot of scams out there. You mentioned something about you have to be careful. Some people promise 100% funding. You want to be careful who you go for funding. You want to talk about that a little bit, David?
Yes, you want to make sure that you're at least auditing the people that you're dealing with, making sure they have a good website, making sure if you go through like us, making sure the email is David at Prime Haven Capital. There's a lot of scammers they might do at David at primehavencapital.info or dot what whatever it might be. When you go through a company, make sure the email that you're looking for comes from that actual real address because a lot of
Absolutely.
scammers will imitate that. With AI, it's just getting worse. I know this scam doesn't really attend to real estate, but like I just saw one on the news the other day where people are going to restaurants and the hacker will switch out the QR code for the one on the table. And then now you're scamming it to the hacker. The one I always talk about is the pure no money down, no money out of pocket, 100% funding. There's not really that out there. How you can get 100%, how we do it is we have lenders that will do 90% down. I mean, they'll fund 90% of a fix and flip and 10% down. If you have another property, whether that's a primary or an investment property, and it doesn't have to be paid off as long as there's enough of a spread, I have a lender that will go second position, put a lien against it, and say you need 30 grand or 50 grand down, making sure that you can pay that down payment. So these people will promise it. And I have two examples I've seen is two individuals at the exact same time. We had two different deals. We were going to give them the same structure. We were going to cover 90%. All that was 10% down. They ran to somebody they found on Facebook that were offering them 100%. Obviously, they wanted it was like 2 or 5,000 up front or whatever they wanted up front. Gave it to them. Now they didn't have the money. They got scammed out of their money and now they can't do the fix and flip. So, you got to watch out, especially on Facebook. There's a lot of scammers. That's why going to somebody like us that is going to really care about your loan and making sure you're not getting scammed. We have a network of lenders that we use exclusively. We only go to 1 to 3 lenders for your deal. Now, if those lenders fall apart for whatever reason, we do it. But remember, the industry of private and hard money is very large, but everyone knows somebody in the industry through these lenders. So a scene comes to me, and then I have a fix and flip, and I blast it out to 40 people. Well, next thing you know, Haustine's deal is hitting Jeff's desk and John's desk, or, and they're saying, well, why aren't you funding it, John? Or why aren't you funding it, Jeff? It could be an amazing deal, but for whatever reason, all of a sudden your deal is blasted to 40 people. They're interesting. Why didn't you do it? And so you got to be careful about who you use
Got
and
it.
who you go to. But going through a good broker and consultant is much better than going through just a lender, because there's a lot of scammers out there. So you just got to be very careful, make sure they have a website, and make sure they're using the real email.
Very good. You talked about private money lending as well. So is that something that you do as as well as hard money lending?
We do it more than hard money. A little bit like private money will go that higher extra mile.
Yeah.
Hard money, I mean, it's a very fine line, but hard money, they charge a lot more. Like, we have a hard money lender that charges 5 points, you know, just up front, where a lot of the private money, like that 90/10, the lender might charge 1.75. We charge 2. You're in it for 3.75. I mean, that's typical in private money when you go through a consultant or broker, is 3 to 4 points. It's really not that much money when you think about it. It could be a few thousand extra. So, people try to run and squeeze every little thing about it. And then that's another thing, is they go and shop it, themselves, and get 10 different term sheets to save
Yeah.
$1,000. And in real
Yes.
estate, you don't want a penny pinch in real estate. It doesn't,
No.
it doesn't do anything.
Correct. Correct.
So, but yeah, you
Absolutely.
wanna make sure, don't go to anyone that just says 100% funding. 99.9% of the time it's a scam. There might be one lender, but finding that, it's don't penny pinch in real estate.
When it comes to real estate, there are some hidden costs involved. As an individual who's getting into real estate, some of the things that you can easily miss, closing fees or any other contractor fees or some fees that individuals are not aware of. You want that a little bit, David?
Yeah, of course. It starts with first identifying the property, and there's two ways you can do it. You can buy it from a wholesaler who's going to add a fee to it, or you can buy it on market, or you can find if you happen to find a private seller. But the two main ways are wholesaler or on market. When you're doing on market, usually the seller's paying the closing costs on that, so it's a little bit, you don't have to worry about it as much. If you are going through a wholesaler, you are paying a fee. It could be $1,000 to $10,000 or more. It just depends on what you negotiate with the wholesaler. But once you get the loan, once you buy it, then you got carrying costs, you have interest payments, you have to have your contractor fees, especially if you're a new person. Don't forget about the closing fees on the loans, like we were talking about. And
Yes.
then also, when you sell it, if you sell it on market, then you have to do realtor fees. So there's a lot of extra fees. You want to make sure the spread is worth it. Like, if you do a whole deal and you're only making $10,000, $20,000, that's not a deal, because at the end of the day, something might always happens. Maybe you get in there and you need a whole new piping. Maybe you had estimated that it was going to be, you're going to make 20 grand, or I'm sorry, 100 grand, but then you have to do new piping and a new roof. Really, before you buy a property, making sure that you analyze every single thing, get contractors out there, just get estimates. It's free to get estimates usually, but making sure you also have the right team together who's going to be able to do the right work. Unless you're an expert and you already come from construction and you know how to build a house from the ground up, you got to make sure that you have the right team in place. And all those things cost money. And so you want to make sure that you have your spreadsheets and you're analyzing and you're using AI. Use AI to make sure everything looks good, and double check that work with contractors and real world items.
Absolutely. Good points there. What about when it comes to deal structuring? What should the listeners be aware of? Somebody who's going into this brand new. Could you talk about deal structuring a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Like we're mentioning, you do want to start with a very strong executive summary. We also like to give a little narrative as well. So the summary is about the property and who you are a little bit. The narrative, just tell the story of why you're doing this. You don't have to go into the whole background of what I did or anything. You want to tell the story of the property and all the details and have all the numbers broken down. And a lot of people come to us and they do not have a line item budget. The roof is going to cost this much. This is going to cost this much. So you need a line item budget always. And you need to make sure you're depending on your credit. If you don't have that good of credit, there's a lot of ways in private money we can work with you. But you got to have an explanation of why your credit is so bad. And you want to always tell that story. That executive summary is very important when you come to a loan consultant, broker, lender, whatever it is, and use AI. Throw it into ChatGPT, throw it into Gemini, throw it into Grok, whatever it is, and build that strong executive summary and a little narrative, especially that line item budget and the executive summary and narrative. I mean, those are like the three main things I would make sure when you're doing it. And if you're going into a DSCR loan, what's the DSCR rate? You can find the formula online. Make sure you're having that debt service coverage. You don't want to have it at 1. You want to have it at least 1.2 to 1.4% just to make sure it is cash flowing because anything could happen. Throw images. You want to make sure you have images of the house in your summary. I mean, that helps. Not everyone does it, but just really building the packet that is going to wow the investor because if you bring it to me, we go the extra mile and we already have a relationship with the lender, so we'll vouch for you if we believe that you're a good candidate. That's why we strongly recommend coming to someone like us as a consultant or a broker and making sure they're a good, broker. But if you go to a lender directly, you got to wow them. If you come to someone like us, we will pre-package and sell it for you.
Property strategy. So many property types are there: multifamily, single family, long term, commercial properties. Any recommendations for new investors regarding property types, David?
I mean, it always depends on what you're going to be doing. Like if you're just a flipper, single family homes are easy. If you want to hold on to it, you can do some single family. I would do a lot more multifamily, especially if you are trying to hold on to them. I actually heard this on a podcast the other day. If you have 10 single family homes and let's say 8 of them are perfect, but 2 of them, the roofs blow, well, that could be $60,000 right there. So all of your costs, all of your money that you made could be wiped out just right there. So multifamily, the cost is spread out a little bit more, but I would always start with single family to get into it and then transition into it. Then you could do something like what my father did is he got into a triple net lease and on a commercial property of like a Jiffy Lube. And how that works is they pay the property taxes, the insurance, and all the costs and the maintenance. So that is the best cash flowing property. Now, those are more expensive and you're going to be a little bit more experienced to get into them. So down the line, maybe like 5, 6 years down the line, start in single family, start flipping, get a couple properties, then go into multifamily, and then eventually some commercial. And you want to diversify. You want to have some single family, some multifamily, some commercial. Over the course of like 10, 15, 20 years, you have a nice portfolio that's cash flowing pretty nicely. Best way to do long-term properties because
Now, for final thoughts, anything you would like to add, David?
just when you're getting into this is you want to make sure that you really do your due diligence. A lot of people go into it and they see all these people making a lot of money and doing it, and it's not that easy. Like people think it's a little bit easier than it is. You want to really do your due diligence. You want to make sure you're getting that good contractor, making that executive summary, making sure the property is like actually I can give a good example is I was referred to this lady who I referred to my father out here and she wanted to buy this. I think it was a quadplex in Costa Mesa and the property didn't even cash flow, for a flip. She wanted to flip it. And well, I think it's improve it and then hold on to it. And the lady had just gone to a couple hour seminar and thought she was this expert. So like That's like my dad, like I've been doing this for about 4 years and I still say I don't know anything. My dad's been doing it for 36. He says he still doesn't know anything. The point is that you can always learn something and never be arrogant and say, "Oh, I know everything." Always take in
Absolutely.
new information. And like that lady, so that never worked out because wildly different. The market changes every year so much. And if you're not analyzing it, that's why when you come to an expert like us, but Prime Haven Capital, me and my partner Mickey Donatelli, we know the inside. We're always watching the market and we're dealing with it day in and day out.
Very good. Thank you so much, David. I think this is valuable information for all our listeners.
I'm always available if anyone has any questions or wants to save some money on payment processing or needs a loan in private hard money.
Would you mind mentioning your web address or
www.primehavencapital.com. Feel free to on there and submit something, but the best way to do it is just send me an email at david@primehavencapital.com is your best way, or you could send me a text to my cell phone at 818-429-4897.
thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. It's great information. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.